Have you ever met a startup doula? A woman who births startups from her own ideas, her boldness. I'm so happy that Ella is with us today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Lady in Pink. I met Ella a month ago at the 4 years from now at the Mobile World Congress, and she was wearing a tiara. Let's see it. Ooh, there it is. Yeah, beautiful. Pure gold, I think. And and she was delightful. And we played a bunch of games to get to know women in tech. And then I've introduced her to my group of friends, and she fits right in. She was the boldest at the party that I had last week. And I wanted to interview you about boldness, being unapologetic, being not afraid. And where does that come from? What are the habits that you had to develop to get like this? Or were you born unapologetic? Could you share whatever came to your brain from that?
Actually, I'd like to start by apologizing.
Oh,
As an Israeli, I want to apologize ask apology from the Palestinian women for the atrocities that are happening, and I hope that very, very soon, if not today, the war will stop and everybody will get home. But that's the only thing I'm going to apologize for. Because I don't apologize for the way I am, or the way I act, or the way I speak, or the way I present.
but you apologized for the actions of your nation against a
Yes,
certain group of people. So you feel you have to apologize for your nation?
I feel that I need to apologize for my nation because my nation crossed a line that it declared to never be crossed ever again.
Mm. Mhm.
So
So that brings up a question as well. Do we apologize for the actions that we didn't directly do? My grandparents were in the Second World War. They were Nazis. Do I apologize for the actions that weren't my actions? And then do we apologize for being women doing things to other, like, we were taught how to apologize as women. We apologize all the time for not reading people's needs, for standing in the wrong place when someone tells us to move. We didn't know that they want us to move, so we apologize for that. Being apologetic is a socialization thing that they do to women. And do
yes.
they do that to Israeli women as well? Or did you just say F you and I'm not apologizing for being myself?
Um, if we're touching that specific aspect, then no, Israeli women are taught not to apologize
Mm,
for any and all actions of Israel.
mm,
So I'm kind of going against the flow
mm,
and against the normal opinion when I come and
mm.
apologize as an Israeli for the acts of my nation.
Yeah.
As to what makes us hard and unapologetic and bold, I think that again, we're going back to the whole situation because now, what's going on in Israel now, in a way, was always going on. When I was a teenager, people were blowing up in buses and shopping centers. So in a way, I think when you live your life knowing that it has an end, it's something that becomes very apparent to you at a very young age.
Mm,
And I think that people in Europe or the United States, I guess, are mostly shielded from that experience.
mhm.
And something about knowing that your life will end gives you early on the boldness that you get when you're 60.
Oh, yes. Mhm.
And if I bring it back to myself, very early on, I realized that women after a certain age, and I just slapped 60 as a number, but it is happening much younger. And recently I discovered that one of the perks of menopause, perimenopause actually,
Mm,
is that the fuck giving hormones are in decline.
mm,
You literally, physically, care less about opinions of others, about how you're perceived, and
Yeah.
care much more about your own comfort.
Nice. Great. Great. A couple hot flashes is
Yeah,
worth it
something
for
to
that
be proud.
freedom. Okay. So when
Not
did yours
not
shift?
fantasy yet,
No?
but no, not yet. I'm just losing fucks to give at an alarming rate.
You're losing what?
Fucks to give.
No more fucks to pass out anymore. Giving fucks to pass out. When did it shift for you, or always as a teenager? You were, you were.
As a teenager, I started waiting for that marvelous moment when I'll be an old lady with a cane sitting in the street and shouting obscenities at the younglings.
Yes, fun, right? Berlin style. Is that
So,
sidewalk made for you? What are you wearing? And then go back to your own country. Yeah, right there, they yell. They yell.
no, not that kind of obscenities. Um, um, and after I realized that, phrased that as an aspiration for me for the old age, I was like, wait a second, do I really need to wait all those many years?
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that I didn't, that I can choose right now. Yeah, it requires some work, but I can choose right now to speak my truth loud and clear,
Mm-hmm.
enjoy the stage that I have, that so many women before me fought, and some have sacrificed their lives for me and you to have the stage right now. So for me, I must use the privilege of having a voice to speak for those who can't.
Speaking of the younger women, Shivani, you didn't get to meet her so much, but she was at the Mobile World Congress and she came a little bit later. And this girl's bold, right? And my my inspiration is not white North American girls. If I have to say, like any woman that I'm like, wow, you're kick ass, and almost everyone I interview is not North American because we grew up. Most of us middle class white girls grew up with everything handed to us in Canada, and we have. I have zero resilience, zero perspective on what real struggle is, probably what real love is with a partnership, like just missing so many things because life was so easy. And either Canadians aren't listening because I don't really have Canadian friends and they're still sleeping. And this idea of like the women who had struggles become more unapologetic because they know the difference between life and death and freedom and not freedom. And do we want to give a hard life to our entitled children so that they turn out to be good, strong women? Try and say that to an entitled middle class woman in Germany and say you should make it hard for your kid. Ah, nine. Like, how do we raise more unapologetic women?
We support them from a young age, and if you have kids of the male persuasion, yes, make life hard for them. Teach them early on to do chores and to participate in the mental load of the household,
Mm,
and give every opportunity you have to your daughters, because the world we live in is not yet equal and balanced. Judging by if the report of the World Economic Forum for 2024 is correct in their analysis, and I think they didn't lie to us so much because, serious people and all, it will take 134 years to close the gender gap.
in the world.
Yes, that's like saying we're not closing it.
Well, I don't know, 134 years, and we did like 2 million where we were like animals and slaves and possessions of men. 134 sounds pretty good in the scale of humanity of how women were treated like crap.
Yes, but it also means that even the granddaughters of the embryo that my friend currently is pregnant with, female embryo, even her granddaughters will not see equality. And she isn't even born yet. Also, When you say 30 years, so I will not really enjoy it, but the daughters of my friends will, or their daughters will. You can say that we're doing actual steps and getting actual results. And sure, it's a big world and we have a lot of change, so it takes time, but it's achievable. In
Mhm.
130 years, just look at Iran, for example, in the 70s and now.
Mm.
Look what's happening in Afghanistan. They're going backwards, not forwards. So for me, saying more than 100 years in the future is like saying, well, we'll have flying cars and no gender gap, and everyone will be equal and happy.
Mhm.
Yes, I believe in the dream, but it's not fast enough. It's like,
Mhm.
for me, it's like saying it's not happening, and that radicalizes me. It makes me want to do um, not more violent stuff, because violence does not save anything, but yes, more radical stuff.
Mm. So, what is the responsibility for us? I'm going to say privilege because we do get the microphone, we do get seen, we do have platforms, we are allowed to say what we want within guidelines. What is our responsibility as privileged women to the women? This is my debate all the time, to the women in Afghanistan. They're so far away, not our problem, is what most of us think. You know, the news, they only report on like 100 kilometers. They know that will make the headlines because nobody gives a shit about anyone that doesn't look like them, that lives more than 150 kilometers away from them. So how do we help those women in our busy lifestyles of trying to get the perfect pedicure and manicure and make sure our kids go to the perfect expat school and our teeth are perfectly white? Like, us women I get angry about this, us women who benefited so much, I do nothing for Afghani women. Like, what message is there, a harsh message maybe, to women who aren't doing pretty much anything?
Well, specifically, there are currently, um, I don't want to say the number, but a few dozen uh, Afghan women who are human rights defenders and women rights defenders who escaped to Pakistan, who are about to be deported. And there is a petition and a donation that's collecting funds. So if
Okay.
you're privileged enough to give and donate, and if at the moment your financial situation, despite the rest of the privileges, doesn't allow you, signing the petition is free
Mm-hmm.
and sharing the information is also free. But that is like a specific thing that's going on now. In general, what you can do as a privileged white woman who is just trying to live her life and has enough shit from men in her surrounding and doesn't feel that she has mental space and physical ability to go save the world after finishing the chores and putting kids to bed and finishing the stuff she needs to do for work that she didn't do in the afternoon because so for to that woman I say choose a woman besides your mani pedi for any service and any product. Try to buy from a woman. Be more attentive to women in your surrounding. Maybe your boss friend is looking to hire, and your acquaintance is looking for a job, and you can introduce them. We know that women will submit their CV only if they fit above 90% of the checklist, that we also know that is usually exaggerated. Men submit their CVs if they mark more than less than 50%. Depending on which research you check, it can be 20%. I saw one that said 60, like
Mm-hmm.
the top one.
Mm-hmm.
But that means that the hiring manager is not getting enough CVs of
Mm.
talented women
Yeah.
who would rock that role
Yeah.
in the pile of CVs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for whoever is looking for talent to hire,
Mm-hmm.
look for women.
Yeah.
With little effort to look
Yeah.
for women.
Mm.
Um, one of the projects that I'm still looking how to do technologically, because I'm just expecting the right tech to appear at my doorstep, is a marketplace that will facilitate buying services and products from women.
Mm.
Because you cannot look even, sure, if you need a mechanic for your car, you cannot search in Google woman mechanic and expect actual results, because we don't filter by gender, gender equality on the table.
That's not quality, that's the opposite of it in this
But
case.
if you knew that there is a woman mechanic that maybe is 15 minutes farther drive than your regular mechanic,
Mhm.
I assume that you would think about making the effort. And if it's easier for you to get CVs of women to hire, women to contract for services, to buy products from, will be able to redirect the flow of money and subsequently power to women. Think
Mm.
about it. Men were selected by default for centuries. Let's try selecting women by default.
And what would those men do? Learn how to cook and clean and iron and read stories to the children? What would happen to our children? Would that be good for them? Burnt
I
toast?
think yes. I think that it will be good for children.
Mm.
Are happy, mother happy? Yes. And one of the things that we've lost terribly is the community,
Mm.
because in the olden days, before the Industrial Revolution, I'm not even going as back as to the hunter gatherer society, where women were hunting as well as men were. There are enough archaeological findings that prove that. But even in before the Industrial Revolution, like 200, 300 years ago, people were living in multi-generational farms. So a woman wasn't alone with her child in a cement box, which is her apartment.
Mhm.
She had her mother and her aunts and her sisters, younger and older,
Mhm.
as part of the community that would help her take care of the child and take care of herself.
Mhm.
And at the time where, to support the family, someone had to go into the field and do stuff. First of all, women also, yes, participated in the harvest. It wasn't only a male job.
Mhm.
But sure, if there are two people in the household, one needs to cook dinner and the other needs to take the oxen and plow the field. I don't know. I think I'd stay home and cook dinner also. Not sure,
Mhm.
but probably. Seriously.
Sure.
But when the oxen were replaced with touching keyboard, working hard, the brain works, and I do the same work, I don't get why I still need to do the cooking and the cleaning also.
Mm. Mhm. 'Cause you're better at it. It's in our blood.
Um,
We've been doing
yeah,
it for so long.
that's why in all the paid position of cooks called chefs, there are
Um,
so many women. Only women, yes, yes.
yeah, yeah, it's true. It's funny. Yeah. Mm. These are serious, serious, so long, so ingrained. No, I lived in Egypt and I went to Israel just for a couple of days when I was living in Egypt. And when I'm in Egypt and I'm in India and when I was in Dubai, it was understood that there's not enough jobs because the economy for women and men. And so someone has to raise the babies. And so it's just so obvious that you're not going to let Egyptian dad raise the kids. Where the hell did he learn how to raise kids from? He's never seen it ever. Plus, there aren't, if the economy is not very strong, like Sweden or Germany, or I don't know if Israel comes into that or Germany, I don't really know the economics of it, but it's, I see it as a real war where the Americans are saying, we don't want the immigrants taking our good jobs. And we're like, well, there's not enough jobs? Is that what it means for the Americans to have their jobs, plus the really intelligent, amazing immigrants to have jobs? Is that the problem? Do we need more jobs and then people will be less Islamophobic, will be less racist, will be less classist? Is it about economic survival principally? And are we going to share our jobs with the women? Because if I take the job of a man, what the hell is that man going to do if there's not another job? So for me, it's a practical question, and I'm not smart enough to know what the answer could be. So I'd be curious if you could
You
educate me.
are smart enough to know, you just haven't encountered the information yet.
Oh, I like that. That's the way.
We unfortunately are not born with all the knowledge of the world conveniently downloaded into a hard drive in our brain. We actually need to acquire it.
Hmm.
So, first of all, most of the jobs that immigrants take in most Western or Northern countries are the jobs that the local population doesn't want to do, like picking strawberries from fields. That is often done manually.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody is taking nobody's jobs. People are filling the positions that they can fill.
But
New
let's talk about
businesses.
educated people, educated doctors, lawyers, engineers that are
First of
coming
all,
to North America.
if a person is a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer, they studied forever. They did internship. They practiced. Um, it's not accessible for anyone just from the street. And actually, neither is picking strawberries, by the way, because if you want to pick it at the speed that they're picking, you need lots of skill for that.
Yeah, yeah.
So the unskilled labor is also a lie to pay people who do very hard work that requires lots of skill less. And I don't think there is a shortage of jobs, much in the same way that there isn't a shortage of food and shelter globally. It's not distributed well.
Hmm.
And jobs as a concept, if you look at it, it's and move away the logical fallacy, it's two things. It's something you do because you want to uh, accomplish something, achieve something, create something in the world. It's something, it's, we want as people to create. And on the other hand, the other side of job is money that, getting money that allows you to live. In Germany, they just concluded their universal basic income
Oh, yeah.
experiment.
Hmm.
And the findings might be surprising to some, were not surprising to me.
Hmm.
The people who got an extra 1,200 euros per month did not work less at their jobs.
Hmm.
They worked the same 40 hours a week, but they bought better food. They spent more time with friends. They went to enjoy activities such as a museum or a theater or a show, musical show, because they suddenly had more money to spend. So they were less stressed and more happy. They changed jobs a bit more often because they didn't feel trapped in their toxic workspace because it pays the bills that allow them to live. And that's my point. We don't need jobs. We need to know that we have a place to live, hot water for shower, clean towels and bed sheets, food, good food that's healthy for us. And we need time to do things, to create, to be alone, to read, to sing, to socialize. People want to do cool things. Most of us don't work our jobs just to pay the bills. We are putting effort into choosing professions that will realize ourselves in our eyes as people, as someone who leaves a legacy. Because reproduction as a legacy is the ideology of a cancer cell. We're not. We're human. We want to create great things. And once our basic needs are 100% covered. Yes, there will be some people who will say, for me, it's enough. I don't want anything more. And I will spend all my time eating the basic food that I can, living in my basic room that I get for free, and playing computer games. And I say, yay for you, dude. Enjoy your life. We're here for that. But most of us will want more. And then it makes sense that we put effort to get that more. Um, what was the question again?
Well, it went a little bit off on that. If you do permit, the one of the last questions is this idea of war, not war in war, the gender war. Um, in the past, if the powerful people had what you wanted, the non-powerful people would get enough people and then fight it. So women want these positions, we want the roles, we want a voice at the table. So the men are the powerful, have been forever, unless there's some tribes that are run by women that still exist, and women want those. So if violence isn't the way, how do we get those roles without fighting? And when we have those roles, what happens to those men? Do they join us as the minority? So only the powerful and bold and unapologetic run the world again, and everybody else is not? Or should we fight and see it as a gender war, or should we see it as like there's enough for everybody and hope that the men move over a bit?
Hoping that the men move over um, did not work until now, so I will not vote for that. Nobody will move their ass from the chair that they heated voluntarily.
No,
Uh,
nor me. I'm not moving my chair for Afghani woman. I don't have an Afghani woman living in my spare bedroom that's full of boxes. So humans, EJ
but
says we're humans. How do we
yes,
move?
um, first of all, by choosing women, since women mostly hold the purchasing power in the households.
Yeah.
So once we choose women consciously,
Mm-hmm.
then we are moving and then either in buying, hiring, voting,
Mm-hmm.
we push more women inside. And each woman that gets more resources can give back and support other women. So, for example, if you bring all your friends to be a client of someone who does nails, she'll be able to hire someone and
Mm-hmm.
build her business
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
and offer job for someone else who may be just working in a nail salon but studying chemistry, and now she invents a new nail polish that doesn't chip at the edges.
So can we ask?
And
Can we
I,
ask? Okay, go ahead.
I have another thing. I think it was Switzerland. I'm not sure about the country, but one of the European countries passed a law that all the parties, all the political parties, must have their list alternating men and women. So instead of having first 12, 30 spaces to men and then women, so women will never be elected,
Hmm.
they would have like men, woman, men, woman, men, woman. And what
Hmm.
happened is that the excellent women pushed out the mediocre men.
Ah, of course.
So, yes, I think there's enough space for everyone.
No, not for mediocre people though, because those mediocre men fall down to doing things that mediocre people do, I suppose. So may the best win,
Yes.
regardless of color, gender, and I don't know if I agree with that opinion, but mediocrity doesn't really deserve to have a place at the head table.
Yet, currently, people rise to their level of mediocrity, rise to the level of incompetence, because
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Mm.
As sorry, I'm bad with names. Someone said before in a comment, equity, not equality. Leah,
Yeah, Leah.
thank you. Yeah. Yes, because we cannot ignore that women are creating the next generation,
Literally.
and the
Like,
pregnancy, yes, like physically creating the next generation,
yeah.
and pregnancy and child rearing at the first stages taking a toll on the body and on the mind and on the time.
Mm-hmm.
And much in the same way that we don't expect people in wheelchairs to learn to walk up the stairs, but we build ramps.
Mm-hmm.
And much in the same way that we invented glasses and we accommodate color blindness by choosing colors that don't blend but
Mm-hmm.
have
Mm-hmm.
contrast,
Mm-hmm.
we need to provide support to those groups,
Mm-hmm.
because just throwing everybody on the runway but sticking a baby in the hand of a woman and saying, yeah, sure, you and this man now run together, but you're freshly postpartum and need to breastfeed your baby, and he finished his job in less than 30 unsatisfying seconds 10 months ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
we acknowledge neurodivergence, we acknowledge learning disabilities, which are actually not, oh, yeah, disabilities. I don't mind calling them disabilities because the disability is measured by the norm.
Mm-hmm.
So if we expect everyone to be as a man, then yes, every divergence from that man figure is a disability. But it also
Women
puts,
are then,
it means all women and most men are disabled.
except for the alpha white wasps, essentially.
Um, I'd say that as a Jew, I kind of can do that strange motion that recognizes those people, but I won't. I think I've said enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And that superiority is untenable because it's exploitative to everyone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this has been very practical, and I appreciate that. So I'm just going to summarize what I've been hearing, because I'm doing this unapologetic movement, and it's easy to say. It's people understand it right away, and I've been fighting for years for women to grab the mic. But just recently, ChatGPT and me decided that this is what the dream is: that women are unapologetic, because we're socialized to be apologetic, and that suits the powers very well. Just like minorities are taught to be quiet because they don't belong in that room. And so it's anyone who doesn't feel that they're the people with the power can be part of this movement. And you can do things to be part of the movement. You don't even have to let me know. Just do them. Stop apologizing for who you are, for wanting to wear a tiara. Buy from people that you want to support. So, oh, my question was, um, I just went, I went to the supermarket, and if I go to the supermarket, I spend 100 euros every week at the supermarket. How much is that? 150? Is that 5,200 euros per year at a supermarket? If I knew that these carrots came from a farm, from a woman, I'd buy them from that one. Or if I knew Lidl was owned by a German woman, I'd probably buy there. But what the hell supermarkets are owned by women? I have no idea. So I should research that and go to that one. It's that simple. It would probably take me 3 seconds on ChatGPT to figure out which ones are owned by women. None. And then what do I do?
That's why I understand that when you can go to a supermarket that the chain is owned by women and run by women and supports women, then it's easy. But if you need to replace your grocery shopping at one supermarket with going to three different shops to buy from women, most of us just don't have that time. We have the desire, but we don't have the time.
Mhm.
That's why I am looking for a technological solution, a
Mhm.
marketplace.
Mhm.
I guess it will have to be even several, because if you could replace your supermarket shopping, especially if you do it online, from one website to another website, and the collection from different shops would be transparent to you, the switch will be easy.
Do it, do it, do it. Oh my gosh. So you are remarkable because I live on LinkedIn. I spend probably 8 hours a day on LinkedIn. I used to be blonde, and they used to call me the crazy blonde who lives on LinkedIn. And now I'm going gray. So soon I'm going to be the gray girl that goes on LinkedIn. That and in your bio, you do something that is, I would say, traditionally male, and that's why you're unapologetic. And you are nothing. There's nothing masculine. I don't feel. I don't feel you as a masculine energy, but this thing is in general done by men. Do you know what I'm talking about in your about me section? No? Okay. I read a lot of these and I interview a lot of women. And you wrote very clearly a sentence, and then you put accomplishments, and then you listed your accomplishments in a bold, factual, numbers, data driven 25 million raised with the startups. Wait, 2 patents that you created. You said what you did. Do you know that's very, very, very special?
Funny story about that.
Okay.
I actually even did a post about it when I was just starting, and I was just building my profile and figuring out the wording and the branding and all. I wrote a list of all of my accomplishments and what I did, and the magnificent technology I developed, and that I actually was in the role of CTO, which I recently learned is very rare for women. And I forgot about the granted patents.
The what? Oh, you
I
forgot to
forgot
use your patent.
about the granted patents. I forgot
Hmm.
that I it just that didn't seem that it's relevant to anything, and maybe I'm just showing off. And I spoke to friends, women friends who know me, and they were like, "Sister, aren't
Hmm.
you forgetting something?" I'm like, "Yes." Oh my god, yes.
Yeah.
And that was so shocking to me that I erased my achievements because I didn't want to show off.
Yes. Hmm.
No, I want to show off.
We all do. We're just told you won't make friends if you do that, or you'll be arrogant, or people won't like you, or women won't like you, or men will compete with you. And then that just sounds horrible. So we all just humbleize.
Shine as bright as you can to show others the way.
Mm.
Don't make yourself smaller to make someone else comfortable. No, be the best, the biggest, the boldest that you can to
Hmm.
show others that it's allowed for them also.
That's it. That's the unapologetic way to help other women, anyone who doesn't feel like they have that they're showing their brightest and being their brightest. So, well, it pisses me off because I'm using LinkedIn right now, the premium, the sales navigator, and I want to interview unapologetic women, and it doesn't have a filter for women.
I
What if
know.
what if I sold tampons and my target market was women who use tampons? Why does LinkedIn not put a gender search on it? Is that against us? Because I think that's just against us. Or
It's against
tell
us.
me.
Mhm. It's like greenwash. I'm not sure about the color. Pinkwashing. It's like we're making it more gender equal by
Mm,
making it all gender neutral. But I'm sorry, before we have this equality ingrained,
yeah.
gender neutral means male by default.
Yes. 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 Wonderful. I just read a quote on Facebook. from someone famous, and I apologize, I don't know who it's from. It was a male, like 100 years ago, and says, never stay neutral because neutrality always benefits the opposer, not the oppressed.
Yes.
And until 130 years when we actually have equality, I come from Canada, we had more than to start with, so I don't want to sound, I don't know what I'm saying right now. Yes, we do need to support the women. And I just saw on Facebook too, apparently I spent half an hour on it yesterday. There's an initiative, sort of what you're talking about, but supporting African American businesses in America. So support your people. And I'd love
Yes.
to support those people too. And someone like, and of course, a bunch of white dudes were like, oh, that's regressive. Is like, well, if you weren't so regressive yourself, we wouldn't need to do these things, brother. Right. So they're going to fight. Right.
Sure, they will fight, but we're smarter, so we can prepare it. So I'll one thing that they say, there are two things that I get as a response when I say choose a woman by default. One is, but who says that women are better? First of all, women are better. But even if we put that aside for a moment, because for me it's obvious, we had chosen men by default for centuries. Look at this mess. Let's try the other thing and see how it goes.
Yeah. After
Cannot
2 million
work.
years, we'll do an evaluation 2 million and 2 million,
Exactly.
and we'll see who did better.
Let's
That's
go
fair.
for 100 years of choosing women by
Yeah.
default for
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
and see how it goes. Because if you look at the countries who have a majority of women leaders, they do better than the rest. So I guess that the result of this experiment will be in our favor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the other thing is discrimination. When you choose women by default, you discriminate against men. To which I say, yes, welcome to the concept of positive discrimination. Positive discrimination is a discrimination that is that chooses prefers one side over the other to create equality.
Nice.
Not because when there is a balanced equality, a discrimination, a bad discrimination, will put one side in favor of the other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when we're like this from the start,
Mm-hmm.
positive discrimination
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
restores the balance. So
Great.
yeah, we're discriminating, and it's called positive discrimination. It's an actual term. You can read about it in Wikipedia. Well,
Mm-hmm.
they can read about it in Wikipedia to educate themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
if they're so smart, the men, they should know it already.
Yeah. So this this boldness of claiming what the things that you just said. When I saw on your LinkedIn last week when you were watching the interview with Frankie and I, oh, and then you did an event. You did a wine event with women. How did that
I'm
go?
doing a wine event
Doing it
with women tonight in Barcelona.
tonight.
Yes, in the
Wonderful.
afternoon, I'll be, well, evening 7, I'll be in Barcelona in
Mm-hmm.
Lulaladus. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name. I made a post about it. There's the address.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And one guy said, I feel discriminated against. And you said,
good.
exactly. I am afraid to do that. So could you give me advice on how to just take criticisms and say, like, oh, it's positive discrimination. You had 2 million years, give us 100. And not being afraid that they won't hire you, they'll take away our power, they won't bring us to the table anymore. You know, like if you fight them, they have the power. So how do you talk to yourself when you're a little bit afraid?
The truth is that when men have explicit power over me, I monitor myself better. So I will not go radical feminist rant on my boss, because if he takes it as a personal offense, I might lose my job, and I usually can't afford to do it. But random men on the internet, and another thing that I've learned from participating in forums for many years is that feeding the trolls is good because you have an audience. It's not the conversation is not happening in my DMs where nobody sees and it annoys only me.
Mhm,
It's
mhm,
happening in a public forum,
mhm,
and I'm not talking with that man or explaining anything to that man for the benefit of the man.
uh-huh,
No way. No, sister. I'm doing it so that the women that read this exchange, if they're not aware of the power of feminism and they're still on the line of internalized misogyny,
mm,
maybe it will wake something up. They will look at it and say, hey, good point. And also, and
mhm,
suddenly lots of coin drops, and you realize that, yeah, it hurts, but you can admit to yourself that you've been oppressed
mm,
for many years, and that the success you achieved is because you're very, very, very good, that you had to overcome so many hurdles
mm,
that if you were a man with the same efforts put, you'd get three times more far.
yeah, yeah,
And it hurts. It hurts to admit it. It took me almost 40 years to become this raging feminist that I am. I
mm,
was your regular pick me girl, one of the guys, um, and I disliked women who disliked me being a pick me girl.
mm, mhm. Thank you for admitting it. Hmm. Well, thank you for being a raging feminist, as you would say it. I feel scared to do that, and that's why I wanted to interview. That's why I interview a lot of Nigerians, and you can see in our chat, there's quite a few of my buddies who inspire me because saying it as it is and pointing out the facts appeals to how you have to communicate with people, men who are socialized to be direct and go to the facts. So this like, this energy that women put on to appease doesn't get heard by the factual direct gender males. And Nigerian women are amazing at just saying how it is. You know if they like you or they don't like you pretty fast. And the same with Israeli women that I've noticed. So I say I've been to 61 countries. I've lived in 5 continents. I've learned 5 languages and forgotten 4 of them. And the women that have scared the crap out of me, if I can be honest, as a pick me kind of girl, are the Israelis and the Nigerian women because they are unapologetic. And I think the Nigerians and the Israeli women, you should get together and teach us this like boldness because you had to, because your men were very strong. You had difficult situations that I didn't have. And so I applaud and I thank you for saying it as it is, because we're not going to get anywhere by appeasing. It's going to take 200 more years if we don't stand up to what we have to as our responsibility is. So thank you.
And I want to add that it's not our responsibility to educate other men.
No.
As far as I know, they were not banned from Google.
Do they know how to read though? That's the main question.
We are not responsible for their reading comprehension.
Although we were their teachers. Ooh. Mm,
I personally has never worked as a teacher in
mm,
preschool, teaching
mm.
kids to read.
Yeah, not your
So,
fault.
and if they need help with reading comprehension, I'm sure they can buy the service from a willing woman or another man, whichever they prefer. Um,
Okay,
but
not our job to educate them.
always explain as much as I can from the heart to any woman who is a little bit willing to listen.
Awesome. Awesome. We might have another call because this is what we need. This is what needs to be talked about, needs to happen. People need to be offended, intrigued, sad, Googling. Things need to shift inside of us. And we're not going to do that by pleasantly smiling and appeasing and keeping the peace around us, because that didn't work for 2 million years. So didn't work. We were pieces of crap and treated like dogs in the families. And so now you don't like the dog who barks back. Too bad.
They should be grateful. We want equality, not revenge.
Oh, that's a great answer to them. Yeah, you're just lucky that we're not trying to avenge you guys, because we have sharp nails and tiaras and we bleed every month and we can take pain, right? Like, you guys don't stand a chance if we if we actually
And
decide
we
to
can
go
run in stiletto.
in stilettos, and we can fight in stilettos.
We can run in
Yeah.
stilettos, and a stiletto is a weapon. So
We should say you should be lucky that we chose peace and equity, brothers.
yes.
Okay, my sister. Thank you for your time. I'm going to
You.
Leia's event tomorrow night. I didn't come to yours. I'm in Castelldefels, but I'm sure we will be at an event soon. Thanks, girl.
Thank you.
Ciao. Bye. Thanks, ladies, for watching.